And just recently watched a few posts from politics in Austria, and I'm like, it's crazy how ignorant the politics currently is to the change of situation, to lots of studies, as well as books, as well as university knowledge, as well as just recently how the whole atmosphere differs from pre-lockdown society, because we have wars that are caused and paid and in on the continent of Europe, and we have crises again. Like I am an non NGO manager, so um, there's lots of stuff going wrong with that. There's also just a sector, just like it's investment, it's money. There is money. There is money. People make money with poor people, but also there is help. So that's so well known. Like it's what is we talk about it on at uni like this decades ago, and politics still does not answer to even old information. Just makes up their own dream world to be the good, like the good girl or the good boy that people want to vote for. People don't want to vote for a good boy or good boy. They want to know what is useful to me. What are you offering? Because it's a little bit true that the democratic system for kids starts in schools. So they vote for the classmate that leads them and talks to teachers in my country, for example, or they vote for every class has a speaker, and then every school has a speaker, and then every range of school has speakers. So that's how kids are used to start voting. Mm. And like these leaders, speakers, they always go from class to class, and they just tell you what they want and what they stand for and why you should be voting for them, and then the kids make their choice based on whatever they want to offer. So, and for people, the way politics works, they still view this kind of the same. They just hear the speaker because they know it is the speaker. It's not the whole party mostly. Even in talks, people don't represent the same party at all. They are not on one base, and that's a little bit hard actually to work on. Like all of the parties speaking from one message, with a big old party system. It's a little bit easier for businesses because people get employed and get money to stand for the business, and then the business is represented with the PR. And politics a little bit different because the politicians themselves they have to be knowledgeable, and they have to speak for their party. And so people know the one who talks the most, like the one you are voting for, per, the one who makes all the pictures, they promise you something that you want to get, and if you don't get it, people will be pissed again. And every election they will anticipate being heard, seen, and like a little court seat. So that's weird because the whole system is there for poor to have a safe base, free healthcare, and the government to have a safe structure. And there is not really a benefit just coming from this administrative system. And the laws are established, but mostly, yeah, they don't really change in a big way. Sometimes things can get a little bit difficult. Like currently with the social media laws, they are a little bit coming from moodiness. People are really moody around the hate storms and the shit storms and all this hatred on their pages, and also politics and the press to really exploit and harm the concept of social media, because it's taking the power away from the press and the politics, because yeah, they show individual and also influencer um, voices, so that yeah, people influencers are more popular than many politicians. And politicians are not popular anymore since the lockdown because they failed on a big scheme. Even like coming from somebody who works in healthcare, social, and NGO, feel like that's all of my expertise. Um, I also have to say they really failed in a big way, and there was no government who made it. And it was like just with they did not even ask for healthcare support for their laws. They just were super important, secretive, and then made decisions. But they could have asked. They know great healthcare managers. We know crises in ambulances. There can be every day you can get a patient that has like um you know healthcare management or like even the good doctors who do organizational stuff and are good at it. They know how to act in a health crisis in a hospital, and like they are really quite big hospitals, so they could have just well, they could have just asked in Seattle, for example, they have big ambulance just as we all seen on the TV even, but they never asked. So they just made decisions. They did not prepare the healthcare system properly. There was no one guiding the hospitals through this. They all had to struggle on their own. And people were misinformed and they were led into fear again. And like you're not supposed to make money with fear propaganda, which can be lots of NGO pictures and all of that, which is has been criticized for so long, and people don't want to hear it, and most people don't want to donate. So the NGOs constantly ask money from the governments that are not responsible for NGO work. um, like the government is supposed to fund their own states, which they are not really doing because they never, in my whole life, they never made plus. I've never experienced them making this work in plus, but it would be not too difficult to reinstate it a little bit and less interesting to people because with every election they anticipate presence, which is so weird because everybody knows politics is always lying. They always stand like it's just what you see is just the tip of the iceberg what they really stand for, in everyday life. So if you know somebody who works with politicians, you know what they say in the media is not really the truth, how they speak is shifting, and also the one who shows their face is not the whole party, and the party is not the whole politics, and the politics is not ruled by lobbies. And so yeah, it's a concept that is a little bit outburned, and especially since the lockdown, it's so visible how they're trying to show how stupid they are and don't want to be responsible for the last 5, 6, 7 years where they really messed up big way. And it's like I feel like it's a competition in which party is the stupidest to win in the agenda of I've not been responsible, vote for me. But people experience the worst. Like there were crises in hospitals. They were all supposed to hide in their home because of something that was just in flu for most people with like a little bit of lung weakening. I've not had in my family, nobody was affected in a very bad way, and others they've mostly been already ill. Others did not already have like mental health struggles. That's what I know, which is also has a deeply bad effect. So I was so careful, and I just quickly went out and got my bread and was home basically. And um it's just a big flu wave flooding the country, everybody panicking. There was no crisis management for politics, none for the hospitals who are part of the state's healthcare system. And also they did not help smaller companies out. There was no framework. They did not offer support even though they know the experts and they have the experts. They could have paid for that. Like I knew no other people in their normal everyday lives, they had to rebuild all of the structure of to work online in less than a month sometimes. So they would have no problem to book experts to work the frameworks out to address like in the moment right now before the actual crisis busts. the economic system of small businesses on, and then obviously homeschooling was never even established. They had no plan. They never prepared for pandemics. They just acted as if this not also a possible threat, and they did not do nothing. They just acted spontaneously. And I'm trained, to work in developing. I wouldn't want to do that, but I am trained to work in developing country. There can be Ebola. There can be also like just um, mm, what's the name? The stingy flies. What's the name? Malaria and all of those um illnesses. Like, you constantly have to have a plan B. Doctors obviously need to have a second person who can show up in case they get ill too, which also was not available for many other people. So they did not plan for the worst case. They just ignored it, and all of the programs from management in crisis and healthcare and whatever, also NGO work, just builds all the structure for you for the worst case, and they did not do nothing. They did not prepare, and they did not react, and then they did not plan. And then just everything went bust, and then everybody in my country got money to make up for it. And then they thought this will be it, people will forget it. But no, nobody forgot it. They failed to lead the country in crisis, and there is nobody else responsible for all of the state infrastructure structures. There's no one else in the position of power to hold this together. Like, I, as a NGO manager, I don't need to plan the healthcare system for the state, and they would not have heard to me, that they would not have listened. It's also, there was not lots of criticism coming from the press, because they were a little bit, they had better headlines with all the crisis and the mental health crisis that if the lockdown was, the COVID was. And yeah, and people behave like they're saints because they give money to NGOs. But the state is in crisis, so if the state is in crisis, there is maybe no future funding plannable. So it is so weird that parties would fight over who funds for developing countries when, like, your own country is more and more in debt every year, and this does mean that you may not be able to pay your bills with the state. Like, that happens. You can go bankrupt with the state too. Like, that's, and then they just funding a war, so really nobody kind of offers money because they started funding a war. And they just act weak. They don't have opinions. They're always obeying Zelensky with this war, for example. They are never speaking up if Trump really badly quits. They are not even trying to have a good reputation anymore, truly. They are not even trying. And I don't think that NGOs cannot work without the government. And if that is the case, they need to say that on time. Like, they cannot just, like America did, skip all of the NGO work out of the window with like one contract killed. And then, well, there are so many people who are in vulnerable positions in their life who needed the programs and who didn't get it. So in case they wanna stop funding, they just need to inform people. They just write out letters and they say politely, and they will lose voters. It's always the party who governs who loses the voters, because the other ones, they don't do anything. And then people go vote, and they vote again for whatever they think advertises best, because they don't believe what they do, so they just hope they get anything out of it. And this is the current democratic system, which, like, if you look at the history of democracy, the democracy has meant lots of other things in ancient Greece. And for me, that's one of the most bankrupt corporations in Austria is Austria. Like, if you view the state as a corporation, it is completely bankrupt. And they are anticipating further investment, and there is nobody interested. There's even not lots of lobby support except for the no war movement is a no. That's what I see. And then I see lots of scarcity around climate change and scarcity around losing funding, which is people like they know they're bitch fighting over who is responsible for the actual crises in case the state goes bankrupt. So literally, they are fighting over who funds those in real actual need. In the public, they just don't really like. They are quite loud about it, but and like yeah. Actually, it's a little bit. I don't think governing the state is the hardest thing to do, but working with a party policy making process is exhausting. In my opinion, there's way too much energy towards politics because in the end, the solutions are made by other people. Like always, politicians just sit there and then they talk a lot. They also need lots of administration places. But the real work is done by the one who does the project. So, state funded or not state funded, somebody has to react eventually. Like lots of EU goals in Austria have been established by the non-profits, which are also funded by the state. But the state did do no nothing. They did not do no nothing. They just used lots of wording, hashtags, and marketing from us, from the NGOs, from the NPOs. It's a little different, but so yeah. And then they recently even tried to make money with funded artist festivals that are not state funded. And then they made money with CSR, who is established and well-known. People understand that it's useful, which is also done with NGOs. So it's not party program, it's the project management that did that. So it's like they try to say that they are the good party by saying there was somebody else who did great work and I have a connection to them. So vote for me. So literally in case of crisis, call me. I'm gonna hook you up. They're gonna help you in case all of this collapses, which is a possible scenario that is not covered in the press. I'm not too scared about it because states do go bankrupt. There's not lots of stuff happening also lawfully for the citizen. But obviously, the politics, the politicians, and so on, they need to plan something. They cannot just leave the boat behind, like they would probably do with the corporation in this case. Yeah, they need to take care of citizens. Like the healthcare is funded and social system is funded, so I don't know what they're doing, but they're not saving on anything. They make big plans for future programs that are not even that urgent because some of the target groups kind of want it. And they hope to keep some women in leadership positions because also they have quotas for it. So they are a little bit suppressed in a way. So for me, that is total chaos and destructiveness that I've never seen in politics play out because they don't believe this has a future too. And I think so too, actually, especially because of after all of this extra money they needed in the lockdowns and of the craziness around managing this and also getting the resources that they urgently needed right now, right here. And then destroyed full industries that normally, like especially for healthcare sector, we need those partners that they messed with a lot. Not only politics, like many people messed with lots of healthcare structures, and was not very helpful, not nice, or not safe. And yeah, they just create more mess every day. And it's literally, I've never seen such a weak government in my whole life. In my whole life. And then they quote stuff they don't stand for, and then they mix environment with migration, which is full different topic, full different projects, full different framework, full different funding, full different target group, full different advertisement and marketing and PR. So they're not even connected from the message, because people don't vote for environment do not actually always also vote for migration. There's 4 different topics, and they constantly mix and match this stuff together, especially since the Greens were in the government. They did mess a lot with structures, and they made their message the only one best, and all of this must be state funded. And they're pressing on them, so it's done. But they don't really have a plan, because they are not even trained to have a plan. They don't even have the proper education to make this work. They don't ask. They don't buy expert. They just buy PR experts to have like golden noses, but they don't deliver solutions. They think somebody, an angel, might rise to do all of the work that they don't want to do, because they just want the money. And it's lots of attention, and it's lots of usefulness for lots of networks, so they make money. But the state, they might go bankrupt. And yeah, in that case, also the EU will lose funding. And yeah, it is sanctioned if EU countries go bankrupt, that over the state's money, which is also true. They get sanctioned, and it's not so good for the infrastructure, obviously. Like, companies might be leaving, employees might be leaving. I'm also gonna be out of here. Like, I'm not building this bullshit, because it's the weakest country I've ever seen. It's only a mess, always a mess. And other ones, they do great work, and I always need to learn from people, foreigners, because my country does not do any work that is really useful for the citizen. And the state is supposed to stand tall, strong, and proud for the citizen, and not just the citizen for the state. So yeah, I don't know. I just seen this on Facebook, and I was like, well, I have an opinion about it, and I'm also gonna share it, because it's my YouTube, and I say that. That's my opinion. Okay. So yeah, I'm also human, and I'm also feeling trouble come in. And I've also said it, told you right now, right here, that I don't have lots of trust in politicians. Okay. That's it. Bye.